colleagues we more usually talk about these things over an improvised cup of tea at the Hillsborough Centre. And I really enjoy this. Question, suggestion. Question has to do with the failure of Germany's super-cosmopolitan universities. We are at a very cosmopolitan university, and we teach at an equally cosmopolitan university. And there is an assumption in the early 21st century that exchanges that are promoted by universities, transnational exchanges, are necessarily good. And yet, when you compare German universities in the 1920s with almost any other universities in the world, they're the most international. Heidelberg makes Oxford look unbelievably parochial and chauvinistic, right up until the early 30s. So my question is, have you got an answer to what went wrong with this great experiment in transnational higher education? The suggestion is whether this book, and it's going to be a book, is going to be chronological, as your lecture was. I wonder whether this would work better as a trans-periodical, as well as transnational study. And had you considered arranging it thematically, explorers, academics, migrants, rather than chronology?
Thank you. When you asked the question, you asked it in such a way that it almost invited the answer that things went wrong at 1933, when clearly the real question is not, I suppose, why German universities became nativist and closed off in the Third Reich. It's why, in circumstances after 1945 or after 1949, when in their different ways, both German states were not closing themselves off from the world, why the universities nonetheless did not take that pattern, did not return to what they'd been. And I don't have a good answer to that. I suppose, I mean, that's from one perspective. I mean, I suppose one would have to look at whether those universities were as attractive as they had been in an earlier period. I mean, is it not your impression that even in the early 20th century, some of the extraordinary dominance of German learning and its prestige had started to wear a bit thin? So even had there been, to do the counterfactual which will appeal to you, even had there been no Hitler, that German universities would have gradually become less cosmopolitan than they had been in the 19th century. It seems to be possible. But I think the question is why they didn't revert to type after World War II. And I don't have a particularly good answer. I think that a thematic organisation would, I was going to say, I think it would make life too easy for me. Obviously, it wouldn't be all that easy, because trying to move across a category like migration from 1500 to 2000 would create its own problems. But the main, I'm pretty sure I won't do that. And the reason is that I want the chronology in there. And in fact, I want those political turning points that the first question I asked about. Because I don't want this to be a history of Germany that sits apart from and alongside existing histories, but one which actually engages with existing turning points. So I want it to engage with the 30 Years' War. There's almost nothing on that today, but I will be writing about that. The 30 Years' War, that whole period of revolutionary upheaval in the late 18th, early 19th century, and again World War I. I'm thinking of probably having a series of shorter chapters on these rupture points, where I try and present them as kind of contact zones, where war and revolution creates often unwittingly, for example, with the dispersal of emigrants, creates greater contacts with the world. But I don't want to lose those political turning points. And that's, I think, one of the great virtues of Tom Bender's book on America, is that he's taking canonical episodes, the Founding Fathers, the Revolution, and the Civil War, and looking at them through a new lens, rather than creating a narrative which sits apart from traditional accounts, thereby making it harder for his more inward-looking colleagues to ignore his work. Not to say, of course, that film historians are inward-looking, but that would be my main reason for trying to stick to the chronology.
Is a microphone coming over your shoulder?
No, thanks again for the lecture.